Welcome to the Redvee TV Show, supported by Chapel House Cars for the 2025 season. And as you can see, Car Swap is now on this week. More details in a moment. But good evening, Kevin.
Good evening, David. How are we?
Looking forward to a road trip to Hull.
Yes, indeed, as ever. As ever. Good hospitality over at Tull KR. Good sets of fans. Know the rugby league. Yeah, there's your loving from me anyway, Hull KR fans.
Send us home with the 2 points. We'll make sure we don't take anybody's head off. Second half, when Saints are 20 points up, we'll just play tick and pass with you. We'll give you a nice massage on the halfway line. Make sure you're well prepped to go to Wembley and win next week.
There's a lot of wishful thinking, I feel, in that sentence, but
And even more wishful
yeah.
thinking, the fans won't be chucking bottles at each other.
Oh, I think that's the only issue sometimes in Hull KR. Just that stand needs just some kind of better segregation down there, doesn't
Yes. So, this episode, Kevin, is titled Don't Risk It,
it?
OKR.
Oh, well, we'll get to squads in a bit, won't we?
Yeah. If you can feel the sniffles coming on, have a week off. Anyway,
All right, I will do then. See you later.
we've got the sniffles already. We've given it to each other, Kevin. Uh,
Oh dear.
well, it was that aircon in the car.
It was, yeah, it was. Being in such close proximity for Huddersfield, uh, yeah, just sharing germs, sharing's caring, isn't it?
It is indeed. Car swap is now on at Chapel House. Sharing is caring with this great offer, Kevin. You can choose from over 1,000 new and used cars in stock, from nearly new ex-demonstrators to low mileage approved used cars. All cars come with free MOT tests for life, available for immediate delivery, and they will even give you up to £5,000 cash back for your part exchange. So if you're ready to swap your car for a newer model, it says just fill out the form below, but you would be better doing that on the chapelhouse.co.uk website and going into
That,
the branch in St Helens.
yes, exactly. You'd be better off doing that than trying to click on this video.
Yes, the staff there will be delighted to help you and show you around some of them beautiful cars in the showroom.
It's like an institution, isn't it? The car swap. It's something
Back.
everyone
It's
knows about.
back.
Yeah,
People missed it. They had the anniversary event where they did so many cars in so many hours, but I guarantee everybody was wondering where Car Swap had gone. So it is back.
yeah, yeah. Free MOT test for life as well. That is that is some going. I'm guessing. Well, I've just had my car MOT'd. It was the bill on the other side that was the biggest issue. But
We won't have
never
them
mind.
problems with Chapel House.
Yeah, exactly. Should go down to our supporters, shouldn't I, and speak to them.
That's what we should find out. We should ask Chapel House who's the customer with the longest record of coming back to get the same car MOT'd. Badly
Yep.
bought. Anyway, speaking of what? Hello. Here's Mike Rush, and he has
Speaking of
appeared.
speaking of people who look quite svelte and in good nick at the moment, here's Mike Rush.
Yes, yes, looking very dapper at the moment in time. Mike Rush has been talking on the Bench podcast with John Wilkin and Jenna, and he was talking about Paul Wellins. So I'll go through some of the quotes, Kevin.
Yes, by all means.
Now, this did come before we hammered Catalans and hammered the Huddersfield Giants. Don't know what Sky are playing at, leaving it so long to go out. So speaking about Paul Wellens and his future for his coach, Rushy said he called for more time. You can see it's hard on Paul. There's nobody who cares more about Paul Wellens at this club. Paul knows results will dictate how far he goes as a coach, not just at this club. We can't let outside noise dictate anything, but we can't also ignore the outside noise. Fair enough. Paul and his staff need to be given time to get it right. He's not become a poor coach overnight. We believed in him when he gave him the job and won the World Cup Challenge in his first proper game, and he had tremendous success at the start of last year before we got those big injuries. In sport, confidence has a big role to play, and it's not a criticism of anybody, but sometimes I wish we could be more positive. Um, I understand the expectation at this club, and that is what it comes back to. Is the expectation is we need to compete for everything and be in the big games, but we were at round 11, now round 13. You can say we're not where we want to be, and I understand that, but so are Warrington, so are Leeds, and some other big clubs in and around us. We've had a tough start to the season with the fixtures. Played Warrington twice and Catalan away already, and we played Wigan on Good Friday. And they are some good teams that we've come up against. Your thoughts?
Um, I get the thing of Paul Wellins' staff needing time to put the ideas in place and it not just being a really quick fix. And I wish we could be more positive and look outwardly with hope, expectation, and joy rather than despondence, what if, and doom and gloom. I think the issue with that is if you take the performances that we've seen, you cannot dance about saying, well, it's been a tough start to the season, but then and give like not take into any account how we've played. Because if we'd played well and been beaten, or at least we'd have looked like we had half an idea at times and been beaten, I think a lot of the bounce off fans wouldn't have been as harsh. And again, we'll go back, not condoning personal stuff. I think his comments on personal abuse are absolutely fair. But you've got to take into account the performances, and you've got to take into account that we were absolutely dreadful in some of them games. That's not me being despondent and doom and gloom. That's me stating an absolute fact. I'm not going to be a happy clapper and say, oh no, we were doing all right. No, we had an absolutely terrible time. That he's mentioned Warrington and Leeds there, which I feel is a little bit like, yeah, Warrington and Leeds around there. Yeah, we've been beat by Warrington a couple of times. The 3 times we got beaten by him in that opening start of the season. Don't use them as an example then.
My issue is that it also negates to mention that 2 or 3 years ago we were a level above Warrington and Leeds. So have they obviously they've progressed, but we've regressed.
Yeah,
So it's all right saying about Warrington and Leeds, but they're teams who are middle of the pack. We've dropped off the top two, which is Wigan and well, obviously
yeah,
now Hull KR have got up there.
yeah. I
So
just,
are we basing it
I
on
think,
name or we're team or are we basing it on well other big name clubs? Leeds have been awful for years, so getting down to the level of Leeds isn't something to celebrate.
yeah, I'm just, yeah. There's certain bits of it that I just think I'm not sure of your point there. I'm really not because you mentioned the likes of Warrington, who I think the couple of games that we played, I don't think they were great either. But their wins have come against us. If you're saying, well, Warrington aren't, look at where Warrington are. Yeah, but we've given Warrington 2 league wins. And I know it might be tough going playing them. When we're both on our game, it's a proper good night. Going to the Halliwell Jones on a Friday evening, playing Warrington or a Thursday even. But you go and it's absolutely tremendous. And neither of them games, or not one of them games, has been that this season because we've both dipped below the levels below the standards that both set of fans would. So I kind of don't get the comparison with Warrington being that bad when we've given them. We haven't performed well enough to take points off Warrington.
Kev, when he's talking about
And,
he wishes people would be more positive, I'm sorry, up until that Warrington game, there was nothing that anyone was witnessing that gave you hope of positivity. Listen,
yeah,
it almost feels like this interview is now outdated, given what we've seen over the last couple of weeks.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but at that moment in time, people were saying what they thought, and you can see the way we've performed in the last couple of weeks and the results that have come with it. That positivity has come, but positivity
Yeah,
comes when positivity is due.
yeah, and that's why I don't mind people being ultra positive at the moment. I'm not going to get carried away with our play. We've played two absolutely dog awful sides, but you've got to keep your foot down in games like that. So if people and we did it when we've done our, especially when we did the Huddersfield show, the Huddersfield instant fan reaction, I feel we were a lot more positive because we've had to maintain standards throughout the game, and we have maintained them. Um, but everything before that, we're being truthful. The the Warrington game that ended up being almost a straw that broke the camel's back, especially with regards to our opinions, it was a terrible game to watch. You can't come away from that going, you know what, we were okay in parts of that. No, we were dreadful throughout, and I feel like we reflected that. But it's fine to be that little bit more positive. As you say, this is probably outdated now. It's fine to be that little bit more positive now because we're seeing little green shoots of the. Obviously, it's going to be a bigger test this week, but it's fine to not all be doom and gloom at the moment. When I think when Mike was speaking here, fans probably um, did have cause to be a little bit worried about the direction the club was going in.
Okay. He went on to talk about Saints not going to Las Vegas. Um, we were in the mix for it, and the reason we've not done so is because Las Vegas is not a moneymaker, and that the club could use that money elsewhere in a possible hint of a major signing of 2026. It was very open and really transparent and dealt with professionally. We spoke with the NRL and we spoke internally. I'm not going to knock the Vegas thing, but you also have to have a really stable financial footing if you do it. It isn't a money making. We have got a stable financial footing, but it's a decision at this time. Do we want to invest in Vegas or go and chase a marquee player and put the money into that, which might help the coach on the field?
And puts pressure on yourself potentially with regards to your recruitment then. Because I know he spoke at length about recruitment as well. It potentially puts pressure on. And before we started filming, you mentioned, are we not a club who wants to speculate to accumulate? Um, yeah, if it's a
I
lot,
have to say, it does strike me as a case of, on a massive grand scale, of we'll only order 1,000 Magic shirts so we can say we sold 100% of them, rather than get them out earlier, order more, and sell more.
yeah,
It's a
and
sa-
have it as
it's a safety first policy. Which, listen, you can argue that we're a loss making business, which we are.
yeah,
Um,
we are.
So, we are very grateful to our board who top up the money each year to make sure that the club doesn't keep running in a deficit, we have directors who support the club. So you could also argue that for essentially what is it a vanity project, Vegas? You could argue it is because are there any long term benefits for Wigan and Warrington actually going over there apart from giving the fans a really good jolly? Remains to be seen.
Yeah,
It might help the
yeah,
sport, but as an individual club, does it help that much? Now, we've got friends who were hoping to go to Vegas, and we were saying, like, what is sport all about? Is it about making moments? So if you've got a chance of taking your family to watch St. Helens play in Las Vegas, are you going to remember that more than, yeah, but we didn't go and we didn't lose the next couple of weeks because we weren't knackered, so we picked up an extra 4 points. In 20 years' time, what are people going to remember? The once in a lifetime opportunity or a season where you're probably not going to win anything anyway?
well, yeah, it's a good point because as well as I say, are we now under pressure with our players that we're after, our recruitment? If you kind of say, well, we won't do one, so we can do the other. So you then bring in a dud on the field, and not only have you not gone to Vegas, you've not improved your team. And I thought he spoke, to be fair, I thought he spoke quite well on recruitment, how it's not just black and white. Don't know if you've any quotes on that, have you?
Kevin, put me under pressure.
Put you on the spot. I know. Um, I can kind of paraphrase if you want me to.
Yeah, go on.
So he was talking about the recruitment and how it's not just about if a player's playing well on the field, it's about his worth under the salary cap and how the club getting getting value for money from a player as well. And John Wilkin mentioned he mentioned two of our current players, which Russia is far too savvy to throw two of our current players under the bus. Two, I would say currently, one's definitely split an opinion, and one hasn't played this year. And I think
Got quotes.
our fan, go for it.
So Wilkin name dropped current Saints players Moses Mbai and Conrad Harrell as failed recruits, along with Wonga Blake, who arrived in 2024. Rush, unsurprisingly, wasn't in agreement. He responded, overseas players are harder to get now. Getting a Jamie Liner or Matt Gidley, it's much more difficult. When we're playing well, the team's playing well and we're full of confidence. I think that Moses or Mbai or Conrad Harrell add a lot to our team. We're always going to get stuff wrong because whether it's an overseas player or not, you take risks and you gamble. Contact is, and without divulging personal business, it's a salary cap sport. You put certain numbers on a player's head that you believe they're worth. Without people knowing the salary cap value, it's very difficult. It's where that person sits in our cap that determines if we get value. It's much more detailed than just picking a certain player and saying, is he playing well?
Yeah,
Has he been watching our explanations of the salary cap?
I think my issue with Wilkin here on picking out Connie and Moses, especially Connie, is if over the duration of Connie being at the club, would you say Connie was a failed recruit over the full duration of him at the club? I'd say not. And I think this is where I do agree with Rushy when you say he's not on, or as far as we're led to believe, not on a massive wage. And he's come in and been better than we thought he was going to be. We thought he was going to be bit past, and he's been our starting centre. Now, has this 1 year extension been a year too long? Yeah, I believe so. I think we're on record as saying that for the past God knows how long. Moses, I think Moses is out of form at the moment. I don't think he's quick enough at dummy half. I think he got caught against Huddersfield at dummy half and pretty much pushed over in a tackle,
He's
which
been brought,
doesn't bode
and
well.
when we brought Moses in, he was never brought in to play nine. Sorry, as a
No,
starting nine.
no,
He
but
was, he was,
he provides you with that kind of experience and that balance. And if you need him to drop into seven, then he can do. I think now, obviously, George Whitby moves as easily moved above him in the pecking order as a seven. Obviously, he wasn't when Moses came in.
don't get me wrong, we'll
But
get into the squads in a minute, and I'm going to bag him. But there we go. But
yeah,
failed
no, that's fair
recruit is
enough.
harsh. Again, if he's not on massive money, would I be renewing him
It's
again? Yeah, no. But
no,
failed depends. What was your expectations when he came in? Has he done more for us than Joey Lussock?
yes.
There you go. Okay.
And I think the one that he spoke about a tiny bit more was obviously your mate Wonga. Um, and that's what led him onto those. You're not going to get them all right. And that's true. But again, he was talking about salary cap and how much he was worth, how much was put onto Wonga as a value.
Wonga played in an
Sometimes
NRL
he
grand
works, sometimes
final.
he don't.
That doesn't make him a great player, but for what we had available in our cap and for what we valued the player at, it was worth a chance to do. Yeah, we took a flyer. If it works, great. You've got an NRL grand final player on the cheap. Unfortunately, it didn't work, and we binned him out.
No, it didn't. But I
But
think that
binned him out
he's on about,
was unintentional phrasing as well.
but it's not wrong. Um, but I think he mentions like that recruitment hasn't been bad. We have had some good players coming in the past 4 or 5 years. You look at like Sione Matautia, Curtis Sheridan coming in. But I also think it's fair to say the jury's out on whether recruitment has been as good as it could be. I think that's fair
Well,
to say.
you've got to judge your recruitment not on past Saints players, but on the recruitment compared to other clubs
Yeah.
in the league.
And I think that was a good point that John Wilkins said. Other clubs are going out getting good overseas stars. So that's when you look at, say, what we got 4 overseas stars off contract this year. Stars, I mean, people will probably laugh at that. But you've got James Bell, Iggy Parsi, Moses Mbai, Connie, all off contract at the end of this year. Would you renew any? Well, James Bell.
Nope. No.
Would you renew any of them? No. So now we've got the big risk of, do we have to go over to the NRL and bring in 4? And are you going to get 4 Blakes? Are you going to get 4 Sione Mitautias? Or are you probably going to get a little mix of each?
Or, if you're not sure, don't fill the slot.
Yeah,
don't
but then you've
don't
got to
lumber yourself. Don't lumber yourself with a player you can't move on.
But then have you got to fill it with an English player?
But are you better leaving space open so if things do become available, then you can move for them?
This is a conversation I think we had not long ago where if you do leave space in your squad and you're not doing well, so you can bring somebody in, there will always be people who argue that you should have spent salary cap at the start of the year. You're never going to win with that.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think you have no win. I'm not saying that I agree with it. I don't mind us having a bit of wiggle room to go out and go and get someone like Dion Cross has come in and I think he's doing an absolutely fantastic job of steadying us. He looks great on that left-hand side. A couple of mistakes against Huddersfield, but looking great on that left-hand side with Lewis Murphy. All of a sudden you think, well, great, that's what we can go and do. But others might think, well, why are we wasting salary cap and space on a couple of the others who aren't getting in and around the squad?
Just before we move on, he made a brief comment when he was talking about Wellens' future, and he mentioned Kieran Cunningham and the family actions.
Yep. Yeah.
Paraphrase, Kevin.
I think it was absolute rubbish, was it? The comment that was on Redvee TV.
Sorry, what did Rushy say?
Well, Rushy was talking about the Huddersfield game. Was it 8-all?
8-6, wasn't it? We got beat.
Or was it? No, it was a draw. No, it was a draw. I think I said that Huddersfield had players with squad numbers on that looked like lottery numbers. And then we had a couple of guests on, some who said it was absolute rubbish, to paraphrase.
As the famous clip goes, and I think the club took notice.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the outside noise. Again, he talks about outside noise and how you can block it out, but sometimes you have got to listen to it. We're not saying that they're listening to every single word and taking it on board that fans say across social media. But there's got to be that nod that fans are the ones who are coming to the game. Fans are the ones who are buying the shirts. Fans are the ones who are buying the pie and pints at the match or travelling away to Hull KR and giving you support. So they're also stakeholders in the whole enterprise. So you have got to listen. But
is there more weight given? So say we interview fans outside the ground who were at the game. Like when we do the fan reactions when people come on, is sometimes more weight given to the reaction of fans who are there in the ground and that opinion than some of the noise that you potentially hear on social media from anonymous faces who might not have been a game in 20 years and just want to sit online slating everything the club do?
Possibly. We'll never know that. Because you might just have the empty vessels make the most noise thing. It depends on what's picked up.
Remember when we had Holbrook and Holbrook said he was going? There was genuinely fans on social media who wanted him sacked immediately.
Yeah.
21-man squad then, Kevin.
Yes. 2 changes. Matt Whitley is back, pictured there after his failed HIA a couple of weeks ago. And Harry Robertson is back in the squad, with John Bedison and Jake Davis dropping out.
Yes. So, your thoughts, Kev? Because for me, the side looked really balanced last week. We looked better having Noah on the bench coming on, giving that 20-minute spell in each half pretty much and relieving the workload on the pack. And going into Hull KR, who have got a big pack, haven't they? You need to match them. So for me, you potentially keep Noah in there this week. The weak link on the bench for me against Huddersfield and in recent weeks completely is Moses. Offers
Yeah,
very little.
I think if Jake Wingfield's fixed, and you know how much I'd rather Jake Wingfield be playing back row or 13, or even if he's got to do a little bit of propping that, I think Jake Wingfield comes in for him just because, as I say, I think he's a little bit out of form and we're trying to play him through it.
Does Matt Whitton
Um,
come straight back in?
yes, I see us reverting to away from Matty Lees in the second row and having him propping again. Matt Whitley straight back in. I would go big on the bench. Um, I don't see the point in doing kind of what we did against Huddersfield, where we've got where we had Owen Dagnall on the bench.
I
I
think
think
I
it's
think I
great.
think that was a good chance to get him in the team. Oh, like get
Yeah,
on Dagnall 10 minutes. You potentially look at playing him against Salford and giving
yes, you do.
like Lewis Murphy a week off,
Yes, you
um,
can.
or even Tristan Saylor a week off as well.
Yeah.
If you
Oh
could
well.
use that game to give John Bennison a game, just rest your first teamers, and you're still going to win comfortably. So if Whitley
Yeah.
comes back into the team, Matty Lees goes
Yeah.
back into to propping
Yeah.
alongside Alex.
Alex. Yeah.
If Jake Wingfield's fit, I think he comes on the bench alongside Iggy and George.
Yeah.
Um, so then that last bench spot for me has to be between Harry Robertson and Moses and Bai because I don't think you can
Noah.
potentially.
Noah. Noah. You just said Noah. You'd have Noah on the bench, so you've got
Sorry,
Iggy,
no, I'd have
Jake
Iggy, no,
Wingfield.
Iggy George and Jake Wingfield.
Yeah, and then your fourth bench spot is Noah.
Would you go with four big bodies then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I if you didn't, you could go with three for me, which means as much as I want to see Noah play because I thought he did really well last week. If Jake Wingfield's fit, he's probably just nudged ahead for a bench spot. But if he's
Yeah.
not fit, Noah stays on the bench, and then for me, you've got a call between Moses and Harry, and I'm not entirely sure this is a game to have a back on the bench, whether you need one or not. You definitely can't carry both of them.
Well, I wouldn't have thought so. I wouldn't be looking at it anyway. I think it's fine against a team like Huddersfield, who are completely out of form, won one game all year. But it's a big risk, and if you're going to put a back on the bench, it's a big risk to do it this week, especially when you have got Matt Whitley who could fill in at centre, and you could revert to last week where Matthew Lees goes out to the second row. You can do something like that. That's why I go with a big bench. I go with a big bench to give us a big platform to try and get us forward and give the backs something to play with.
Yeah, I just don't see the point in putting Moses on there to come and do 10 minutes very slowly with dummy half
Well, that's why I think if Jake Wingfield was fit, I'd have Jake Wingfield.
as your nine option.
I can't believe I'm saying
You
this
love
out
it. You love
loud.
it, Kev. You love it.
But I think he's more in form as a nine than Moses is at the minute.
And even then, if Daryl Clark's capable of doing the 80, you probably run with him for the 80 and just spell Wingy in the forwards a little bit. Would you have Harry Robertson back in this week?
Depends if anybody's got a knock,
If
really.
no one's, if
If
assuming everyone's fit,
Yeah,
if you put Harry Robertson on the bench, where does he come on the field?
yeah, it's a good. I think that's a good point. Where does he come on? And I know that he can provide something, but there's also the thought, and Rushy said this in his interview. He's only a 19-year-old just starting his career. He he doesn't have to play in every game. I think at the moment, because it's quite balanced in the three quarters, if everyone's fit, if everyone's fine, you don't change it. Unless you think that someone is struggling a bit, that's when you have a back on the bench.
But
But I,
but even
I
then,
don't see the point.
if you're only putting them on the bench to potentially cover someone for 5 or 10 minutes if they get injured in your back line, if one of your wingers gets injured, you'd move Dion Cross out wide and put Whitley in the centre.
Yeah,
If one of your centres get injured, you put Matt Whitley in the centre. So
yeah,
there's your 3/4 line covered.
yeah.
So if you have an injury in the halves, yeah, okay, you'd bring him on, but how likely is that in the grand scheme of
Do,
things? So in that
do,
case, is
do
it a waste of a bench spot?
you bring him on? Like, again, if you're talking about the team who plays, and I know people will probably end up screaming at the screen at this, but in game, you can move Tristan Saylor off the wing, Dion Cross out to wing, Matt
Yeah.
Whitley back. So Tristan Saylor comes into the halves. You've got other
If
changes
your
that you could
fullback
make
gets
on.
injured, you just move Tristan to fullback.
There you go. So
So it's a waste of a bench spot, I'm afraid. And yeah, so for me, you go with at least three big bodies, and then you
yeah,
choose whether you have Moses there or not.
yeah, and I think and that is with me wanting to see Harry Robertson on the park as well because I want to see him because he's an exciting player, but I don't see the point in having him as like number 17 on the bench
But yeah,
unless
the start, so he doesn't. He's on the
yeah,
17,
yeah, agreed.
especially
Unless
especially this week.
yeah, and if you think somebody's struggling with an injury, leave him out, let him have 2 weeks off.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Okay, our squad. Well, I don't
Yeah.
get what the picture's about, by the way.
Anyway,
You'll have to enlighten
um,
us.
yeah, one change as AJ Wallace comes in for the injured Lee Kershaw.
Will Dean Hadley and Mikey Lewis play?
I think the other player that Hull KR fans, other than Dean Hadley, say don't play Jack Broadbent, who I'm quite happy if Jack Broadbent doesn't turn out because every time we play him, he seems to turn into Billy Slater or Mal Meninga or someone like that, and he has an absolutely fantastic game. He looks like a real good signing for them. It wouldn't surprise me to see Danny Richardson step up off the bench and Mikey Lewis step out.
And Danny Richardson play like prime Mikey Lewis.
Oh, you're absolutely right. With a swagger, running about with a dinner jacket on. But yeah, it's a weird one because they can't. If they slip up, then they can give up top spot to Wigan. Wigan are playing Salford's.
We'll do you a
Whatever.
favour. Okay, give us the points. We'll batter Wigan next time out. We promise.
Okay, you're very positive, aren't you? But it wouldn't surprise me to see a couple of that starting 17 from Hull KR last week at Warrington just have a week off, or maybe even start from the bench. So seeing Bill Leyland come in for Jez Litton, just seeing that little bit of, well, we can kind of hide Jez Litton for 20 minutes and then bring him on, then off again, then on. And instead of him playing 70, 80 minutes, he instead does 50, 45, 50, something like that. As it is, I don't have a clue. I hope Hull KR fans are watching this for some kind of insightful knowledge from me. But it wouldn't surprise me just to see a couple of their lads, the more kind of susceptible to something. So, like as you say, Hadley is a couple of points away from a ban. You don't
Don't
play him.
risk him. You don't risk
You
him.
don't play him. No.
Mikey Lewis. Imagine if he pulled a hamstring up before Wembley and you let a Warrington team beat you in the final. You'd never forgive your coach.
No.
Same with any of them 17. Go and loan Salford's first team. We won't mind, honest.
No, we
We're not gonna feel robbed at travelling all the way to Hull to see your reserve team. It'll be a pleasure.
especially when they still put 20 on us.
Yes. Anyway,
Oh.
predictions, Kevin.
If the Hull KR team from last week plays, then it's going to be a good barometer to where we are. And but I still think home advantage will see them through. if Hull KR take a couple of those stars out and we keep on improving on the last couple of weeks, then I think we'll be more in a game and hopefully give a better showing of ourselves than we did at the start of the year. I'm still not going to predict a win, but I think we will be able to give more of a showing, and we won't come away necessarily thoroughly disappointed.
Yeah, I think if OKR play their first team, I think you're probably looking like a margin of 8. But if they don't, we'll increase that further.
Very good.
Um,
Is this your 11? Is this your one? Is this
it's-
your 1 out of 12? I think we'll lose, or is this
no,
still a win?
I've given myself any game as the one, just
Oh,
to,
right.
because
Oh,
there's always a slip up potential if something
yeah.
goes against us. Um, I'll tell you what, Kev, if I pulled them fixtures up again now, if we get through Hull KR with a win, Dal 11's not out of sight, is he?
Well, no, it's not. And as I say, I hope you're right. It's just at the time of you coming out with it, I had seen nothing to back that up.
So after that, if we beat Hull KR this week, Salford away, win. Leeds at home, should be looking to win.
We should be looking to win. We've got to improve, though.
Salford at home, win.
Yeah.
Hull FC away and Leeds away, tough, winnable.
Yeah.
Lee at home,
Again, tough. They've had our number recently, but I
but
feel like I'm not sure that they're at the minute quite firing on all cylinders, but it won't put it past them to get better in the next month and a half.
Cass at home, win.
Yeah.
Wakefield away, tough, but winnable.
We've won the this year, yeah.
And there's 12 out of 12.
You'll
And
have
then,
me believing.
and then Huddersfield the week after to continue the run.
Yeah, you have me believing soon.
It's not until we play Hull KR away again at the end of August and then Wigan the week after that it all goes to pot again and we lose twice on the bounce.
That's the spirit. And then Laken, it's 3 on the bounce.
Listen, a couple of months are a long time in sport. Let's
Yeah,
see what goes on.
yeah.
But the ticker keeps going. We're 2 out of 2, 2 out of 12. You all thought it was mad.
Something like that.
Right? We will catch you on Friday evening in the land of the Codmen. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And after the game, we'll all be best friends and be cheering on Paul KR. Catch you soon.